Hello, this is Holger Schönberger and I will show you how to install Wall Render. I will talk about the basic test setup and once that works, a permanent setup. I assume you already know a little bit about networks and how it works, that you save your scene to a file server which is reachable by all machines. You need a machine that acts as a vendor server. It can be any workstation or it can be the file server. In the setup, I'm currently on my workstation and remote session to the wall vendor server. I have a network drive on my file server mapped to my M drive with my projects on it. I will create the wall vendor network folder. This folder will contain all application and configuration files for all machines, so you don't need to install all applications on all machines. Okay, let's download the installer. Oh, there's zip file. Extract it. Okay, now that I've extracted it, you can see there's a setup application for Windows, Linux, and Mac. It does not matter where I execute the installer because the installer just copies all files into my project drive. So I'm executing setup. Browsing to the network drive, my wall render folder, and I'm installing it. You may allow wall render to change the user access rights for the RR folder. In this case, I use apply. It will enable the inherit permissions for subfolders and read-write access rights for everyone. For a company setup, we have some information how to change the user access rights later that nobody can change the Volvena installation. Okay, Volvena was copied. So if you check any file in here, the access rights are inherited. You may change it later depending on how many people are in your company. Okay, so the Volvender folder contains a bin folder. The bin folder contains all applications files for Mac and Windows and Linux. For Linux and Windows, we have some shortcuts in the root. The first step after you have copied the files is to start the rrServer on the machine that should be the rrServer. I'm starting the server now. The rrServer creates the main configuration file. It adds its name and IP. So you cannot change the rrServer from now on if you don't reset the configuration. One note on Windows, if you click inside the window, the terminal is in select mode and the server might not execute. So just don't click into the terminal. This was the first step. The next step is to add a client. The clients are used for rendering. I will use my machine for rendering. I'm starting the client. The client does a small processor speed and GPU speed test. The processor speed is used by rrender to decide how many frames are sent to a machine. The higher the speed, the more frames a machine can render. Okay, the speed test was done. By default, Windows hides the tray icon of the client. So it's hidden in here, and you should drag and drop the client icon into your tray icons. I can double click or right click to execute some commands or open other applications. The client shows some information about CPU, memory, and GPU usage. It's enabled by default. Okay. Then the main application to view the status of all jobs and the clients is rrControl. In this case, I already had some jobs from the last installation. I have my client and can see information about jobs and all this kind of stuff. Last step is to install submission plugins. Use the workstation installer and choose workstation. It installs the submission plugins, start menu shortcuts, adds your file server to the local internet zone that you don't get a warning, oh, this file is from an unknown location. Installation done. Okay. Okay, I will now start Maya. While Maya starts, the all applications are installed in your Windows Start menu as well. I'm opening a simple scene on my project drive. Use our submission plugin. It will show all layers. In this case, I don't have any layers in my scene. It will use Maya with the vendor Arnold, Maya version 22, and I can submit the job. Oh, in this case, there are already frames. I can render missing frames or delete all and re-render them, or keep them and overwrite them. I will keep the submitter open to show you one thing. The scene file is not copied. It's still on my project drive, so it has to be on file server that everyone can access it. Okay, as you can see, the job was sent to all vendor. My machine is rendering. If I check, it's loading. Yep. CPU usage is rising, and images are rendered. So that's the basic installation. As you can see, really simple. The next step is the permanent setup. As of now, we have not installed any files on this machine beside the submission plugins for the render applications. Otherwise, all application files are still in the network folder.